Every summer, this nagging memory comes back. It always resurfaces the week school starts to wind down. These are 3 true stories submitted by real people, terrifying things that happened on or around the last day of school. Viewer discretion is advised. I was finishing 5th grade. The last day was the usual chaos streamers, yearbook signings, everyone screaming goodbyes. Summer vacations stretched ahead like freedom. My mom always picked me up, and afterward I planned to hang out with my friend Tyler. I waited by the side doors with my teacher, Mrs. Paulson. Parents were waving, kids running everywhere. Then this guy in sunglasses and a faded bowl cap walked up from the curb. He smiled quick and said, "Hey, I'm Tyler's uncle. His dad got held up at work. I'd already talked to your mom on the phone. She said it's okay." Mrs. Paulson glanced over, distracted by the crowd, and just nodded. I followed him. He talked fast old school stories, how Tyler was waiting at home. We got to this gray station wagon with a dented bumper. I looked in the back. "No, Tyler," I asked. "Where's Tyler?" He looked in the rear view as we drove off, saying, "He's already home. You'll see him soon." We drove way longer than normal. Streets I didn't recognize. Finally, a normal-looking house-wide siding, neat bushes, but inside it was dark. Blinds closed, one lamp on it. Smelled like mildew and old carpet. He said, "Tyler's downstairs. Go on down." He disappeared down a hallway. Footsteps creaking. My chest felt tight. Something was wrong. I tried the front door, locked. I spotted the kitchen phone on the wall. My hand shook. I dialed 911 and whispered, "Please, I've been taken. Send help." A man called from somewhere. "Ryan, come on down, Tyler's waiting." I froze. He pounded back up the hall. Appeared in the doorway. Still smiling, but his eyes were different. "You okay, kid?" I stammered. I'm scared." The smile dropped. He grabbed my wrist hard. "Quiet. I'll let you go soon enough." He dragged me toward the basement stairs. I tripped, tumbled down a few steps. The door slammed and locked above me. Cold air. Footsteps pacing upstairs. Muttering. Then the slow creak of him coming down with something in his hand. A belt. I closed my eyes and screamed. Suddenly, doorbell. Sharp knocks. Voices shouting. Wood cracking. Boots rushing in. Police. They pulled me out into flashing lights. The man was cuffed, pale and silent. My mom arrived sobbing, hugging me so tight. 17 summers later, I still wonder if he's out there, waiting for another last day of school. When I was in my junior year of high school, my friends and I were completely obsessed with graffiti. We'd spent the last year tagging just about every underpass and abandoned warehouse we could find. Nothing too crazy, mind you, just local spots. But for our big send-off on the last day of school, we decided to go for something legendary. The old abandoned church and preschool on the edge of town. It had been sitting empty for at least a decade, completely fenced off, just waiting for the demolition crew. It was the perfect canvas. There were 4 of us that night. Me, Jake, Nate, and Zach. We decided to meet up at midnight. Jake, always the showman, pulled up in his mom's Prius, blasting some terrible rap music so loud the windows were rattling. We were all buzzing, not just from the cheap energy drinks, but from the pure, uncut feeling of summer freedom stretching out ahead of us. We were invincible, or so we thought. We parked a block away and crept towards the property line. The whole lot was swallowed by darkness, with only a sliver of moon trying to cut through the thick clouds overhead. A tall chain-link fence topped with barbed wire surrounded the entire place. Nate, who was already looking a little green, took one look at the fence and immediately started shaking his head. He was out before we even started. Jake just rolled his eyes, pulled a massive pair of bolt cutters from his backpack, and with a loud snap, the padlock on the main gate fell to the ground. The gate groaned open with a sound like a dying animal, revealing a courtyard choked with weeds and shadow. The place was a total ruin. Small trees were literally growing up through the shattered stained glass windows, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching for the sky. Just as we stepped inside, a cold drizzle started to fall, quickly turning into a downpour. We ran for cover, finding a side door that was boarded up. It took a few solid kicks from Jake to splinter the wood and get it open. The moment it gave way, a thick cloud of dust billowed out, smelling of mold, decay, and something else, something vaguely sweet, like old incense. We flicked on our flashlights. The beams sliced through the oppressive darkness, illuminating long, empty hallways. There was no furniture, no leftover school supplies, nothing. Just our own echoing footsteps and the frantic skittering of small animals in the walls. At least, we hoped they were animals. The sounds were strange, almost like tiny, squeaking laughter that would stop the second our lights passed over the source. It was creepy, but we were still running on adrenaline. Our main target was the chapel. It had the biggest, most pristine wall, perfect for the massive mural Jake had planned. We navigated the maze of dark corridors, the sound of the rain, now a deafening roar on the roof. We finally reached the 2 large wooden doors leading into the main sanctuary. Just as Jake reached out to push them open, I heard it, a low, rhythmic whispering. It was deep, definitely human, and it was coming from inside the chapel. I grabbed Jake's arm, telling everyone to be quiet. We all froze, listening. The whispering continued, a steady, guttural chant. Jake, never one to back down, just grinned. Probably just some homeless guy, he whispered, and cracked the door open just enough for us to peer inside. The cavernous room was bathed in pale moonlight filtering through a huge hole in the roof. And there, kneeling in the front pew with his back to us, was a figure. He was wearing a dark, hooded robe, its head bowed in what looked like prayer. The muttering was clearer now, a slow, pain-sounding chant in a language I didn't recognize. We stared, mesmerized and terrified. Then, as if it sensed us, the figure slowly, deliberately, stood up. It didn't turn around, it just stood. And in that same instant, the chapel door slammed shut behind us with a deafening boom. We spun around, hearts pounding in our chests, and my blood ran cold. Every single locked classroom door lining the long hallway we'd just come down was now slightly ajar, and in each dark opening, a pale face was peering out at us. They were just shapes, void of any features. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just smooth, white ovals hanging in the darkness. We instinctively pointed our flashlights at them, and as the beams hit, they ducked back into the rooms with an unnatural quickness. That was it for us. All bravado vanished, replaced by pure, animal terror. We ran, we didn't even look back at the chapel door. We just bolted down the hallway, away from those featureless faces. As we sprinted, the classroom doors flew open one by one behind us, slamming against the walls with a series of loud bangs, as if something was chasing us out. The sound was right on our heels, a wave of noise and fury. We burst back out into the night, the cold rain hitting us like a physical blow. The ground had turned to slick mud. Nate and Zach both went down, slipping and sliding in the muck. Jake and I hauled them to their feet, practically dragging them towards the gate. We scrambled into the Prius, not even bothering to close the doors properly. Jake fumbled with the keys, his hands shaking, and floored it. The tires spun in the mud before catching, and we peeled out of there, leaving a trail of smoke and terror behind us. As we fishtailed onto the main road, I risked one last look back at the church. Standing under the dilapidated awning, just out of the rain, were 5 dark, hooded figures. They weren't moving. They were just standing there, watching us go. A few months later, the demolition crew finally tore the old church down. I kept an eye on the local news, but there were never any reports of squatters, vagrants, or any other break-ins. Nothing to explain what we saw. Maybe it was just some homeless people trying to scare us off their turf. Maybe it was something else entirely. Whatever it was, I can tell you this for sure. I never tagged another abandoned building again. Some places are better left alone. Thanks for listening. And if you have your own creepy story, share it in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Stay safe out there. He was tall, heavily built, had a buzz cut, and always had this slightly sour smell about him. He was older than most of us, wasn't in college, and just gave off this kind of gross vibe. Sometimes he'd cut me some slack on my shifts, like letting me leave early. As summer break approached, I didn't have any big plans, just looking forward to some time off. One afternoon, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It read, "Hey, is Dan, you want to hang out sometime?" I was immediately weirded out and texted back, asking how he got my number. It felt like a total violation of my privacy. I mentioned it to a female coworker and she just rolled her eyes. She told me to ignore him, that he hit on all the new girls and never got the hint. Following her advice, I replied to him with a little white lie saying I was going out of town for the summer. Then I muted his number, hoping that would be the end of it. I really wish it had been. Suddenly, blinding headlights flooded my living room, shining straight through the windows. My heart started pounding. I crept to the window and peeked out through the blinds. My stomach dropped. It was Daniel's beat-up old car parked right in my driveway. I watched in horror as his huge silhouette emerged from the driver's seat. He walked straight up to my house, not to the front door, but around the side, directly to my bedroom window. I could hear a faint scraping sound as he tried to slide it open. Thank God I always kept it locked. He fumbled with it for what felt like an eternity, probably a minute or two, before giving up. He got back in his car and just drove away, leaving me there shaking in the dark. I was completely terrified, but I hesitated to call the police. I thought, what would I even say? That my coworker drove to my house. I knew I needed concrete proof if they were going to take me seriously. There were dozens of missed messages, each one more desperate and angry than the last. And then ... there was a photo. It was a picture of me, fast asleep in my own bed. The angle was slightly skewed, taken from outside, through the tiny crack in my blinds. Below the picture was a new message from him. I waited till you fell asleep. I know you're hiding in there. That was it. The proof. The threat. The time seemed to slow down as I stared at the screen. I finally called the police, my voice cracking as I explained the situation. But before they could arrive, I heard the familiar rumble of his car pulling back into my driveway. This time, he didn't sneak around. He marched right up to my front door and started banging on it with his fist. "Come on," he was yelling, his voice muffled but filled with rage. "This is so unfair. You're so shallow for ghosting me." His pounding got louder, more frantic. Then I heard a sickening crash as his fist went straight through the glass pane on my front door. They pulled him away, still screaming insults at me in my house. They took him into custody for the night. He never showed up for another shift at work. The manager said he just disappeared, probably skipped town to avoid the charges. Even though he was gone, the experience left a permanent scar. For a long time after that, at work, at school, I found myself suspicious of any guy who was a little too nice. It completely messed with my ability to trust people. I can only hope that wherever Daniel is now, he ends up completely alone forever. Or even better, in prison where he belongs. These stories serve as a chilling reminder that even when things seem normal, danger can be hiding in plain sight. Always trust your gut instinct. And please, stay safe out there. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content.